Tired of being told to just cut out carbs, dairy, and gluten if you want to lose weight with PCOS? As a dietitian who also has PCOS myself, I get how frustrating it can be, and I'm here to show you that there's a better way. In this video, I'm going to share with you the method that I teach my clients to help them eat balanced and lose weight with PCOS without giving up the foods that they love. We'll be breaking down the 5 simple components of what I call the PCOS plate method, which is going to become your new BFF when it comes to losing weight with PCOS. So let's dive in. So the first component of this method is probably the one that my clients are most surprised about, and that's because they know that these foods are really healthy, but they're always surprised by just how much they should actually be eating. The first part of this method is to have half of your plate non-starchy vegetables. These non-starchy vegetables give you a lot of great fiber, which is really important to help with balancing insulin levels and balancing hormones. Fiber also helps support gut health and give you a lot of great vitamins and minerals to help with reducing inflammation. All very important things when it comes to managing PCOS. Having half your plate those non-starchy vegetables also really helps just bulk up your meal to give you so much nutrition bang for your buck without overdoing it on calories or carbohydrates. And you'll notice we're not just talking about any vegetables here, but the non-starchy vegetables. So we normally will break vegetables into 2 different categories: starchy vegetables and non-starchy vegetables. So your starchy vegetables are going to be foods like corn, peas, potatoes. We'll get to those in just a second. But in this half your plate, we want those non-starchy vegetables. So that's going to be foods like green beans, broccoli, spring mix, cauliflower, zucchini, peppers, mushrooms, all those type of foods. So a simple way to start incorporating this is just to start adding vegetables to foods and meals you already enjoy. So like maybe you're having a pasta dinner or some pizza, add a side salad, or add a couple scoops of steamed broccoli. Those microwavable veggie steamer packs are such a lifesaver in our house. So just be sure to make half your plate those non-starchy vegetables. Now, I personally love the next component to the plate method, and that's because I am a huge carb girly, and you do not need to cut out carbs if you have PCOS, even if you're trying to lose weight with PCOS. So for the next part of the plate method, you want 1/4 of your meal to be complex carbohydrates. So no, carbs are not the enemy here, and you don't need to completely cut them out. And in fact, a lot of research shows swapping these carbs to complex carbohydrates can do so much good for your hormones. And these complex carbohydrates are foods that give you a lot of good fiber and a lot of good nutrition. These include foods like whole wheat breads, whole wheat pasta, brown rice, quinoa, potatoes, sweet and white potatoes both count here. The corn and peas also fall into this category, like we said before, those starchy vegetables. And beans and fruit also fall into these complex carbohydrates. And so while you don't need to completely cut out carbs, it is true that usually we do need to reduce the amount of carbs we're consuming at each meal because our typical American diet is usually pretty carb heavy. And so if you'll notice from this plate, only 1/4 of your meal you want to be those complex carbohydrates. And no, you don't need to make sure these are gluten-free either. That's also a huge myth that people with PCOS have to go gluten-free. There's a very small percentage of women that do have PCOS that might have a gluten intolerance or gluten sensitivity or celiac disease along with their PCOS. For them, it is beneficial to go gluten-free, but for the majority of people that I've seen, gluten is just fine. So that's right, you can keep carbs on the menu, just make sure that you're swapping them to these complex carbohydrates. And if you want full breakfast, lunch, and dinner ideas that use this plate method, be sure to check out my free 7-day PCOS meal plan where I break down what this can practically look like. So it has some great meal and recipe ideas to help you incorporate this balanced plate method. So be sure to check that out. I'll leave a link in the description below. The next part of this PCOS plate method is having 1/4 of your meal lean proteins. So protein is so important to help with balancing your insulin levels and your blood sugars, help managing hunger, helping to reduce cravings, and supporting weight loss and metabolism. So I normally recommend to try to have 25 to 35 grams of protein at each meal. And an easy way to do this is to try to have about 1/4 of your meal or your plate these proteins. So this can include foods like beef, chicken, fish, seafood, pork, eggs, even Greek yogurt, tofu, cottage cheese. Protein shakes can fall into this category as well. So trying to get a good amount of protein, especially at breakfast, can be really beneficial. I cannot tell you the amount of clients that once they start increasing the amount of protein they have at breakfast, they're amazed at how much fewer cravings they have throughout the day and how much better their energy levels are. So definitely be sure to have 1/4 of your meal those lean proteins. Now, this next component of the PCOS plate is one I usually see missing from similar type of balance plate models, and that's to have about 2 tablespoons healthy fats in your meal. So these healthy fats are really important with helping to support hormone production and just making your meal feel more satisfying. And healthy fats can also help with reducing your risk for heart disease, which is a huge concern with women with PCOS. And so sources of these healthy fats include things like olive oil, avocado oil, avocados, nuts, nut butters, seeds like chia seed and flax seed. And so while these foods are really nutritious for you, we do have to be more mindful because they are more calorically dense. So not that we're meticulously tracking calories, but we do need to be mindful of them. This is why we want to stick to about 2 tablespoons at each meal. All right, and now when it comes to a healthy diet, it's not just about what we eat, but also about what we drink. So that's why the 5th component of the balance plate method has to do with beverages. And now, as a general rule of thumb, I usually tell my clients you don't want to be drinking your calories just because it's not going to be as satisfying, it's not going to keep us full for very long, and we're more likely to overconsume when we're drinking a lot of calories. And what you drink can significantly impact your insulin levels as well, which is really important to balance your insulin when it comes to losing weight with PCOS, which I talked all about in my video right here about why it's so hard to lose weight with PCOS, so be sure to check that out for more information. And so generally I recommend to stick to 0-calorie drinks, whether you're drinking them with meals or in between meals. So this is water, sparkling water, unsweetened teas, herbal teas. These are all great choices. And you do want to be cautious of those 0 sugar drinks or sugar-free drinks that might be sweetened with sugar alcohols or artificial sweeteners, because even though these aren't going to raise your blood sugar levels, they will still spike your insulin levels. And having those elevated insulin levels is what can make it really hard to lose weight. And so we generally want to stay away from those type of drinks. And now I get that just plain water can be boring. Sometimes you want a little bit more flavor. So if you'd be interested in a video where I explain some really good PCOS friendly drinks that do have a lot of flavor, be sure to leave a comment below and I'll be sure to make a video on that. But for the most part, stick to water, sparkling water, unsweetened teas, and herbal teas. All right, so there are the 5 components of the PCOS plate to help you lose weight without giving up all those foods you love. If you want your own copy of this plate, be sure to check out that free 7-day menu plan as well, because there is a copy of it in there. And then you'll also get a bunch of great meal and recipe ideas to go along with it. But using this plate method is a great way to make sure that you're nourishing your body, balancing your hormones, and achieving healthy, sustainable weight loss. And if you're curious to know the 3 most common mistakes I see people making when trying to lose weight with PCOS, be sure to check out this video right here. But thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. Remember to nourish yourself with grace, and I'll catch you in the next one.